Good evening, Belmont. Welcome to the GBA Candidate Forum, sponsored by Rayleigh Miller Properties. Rayleigh Miller owns the Harris Teeter properties in South Belmont, and 2 weeks ago, when we didn't think we were going to have an event because places were booked and other organizations decided not to do these, we said, well, we'll see what we can do, and they stepped up and said, hey, we'll be happy to sponsor tonight's event. So on behalf of Rayleigh Miller Properties, the GBA, and Carolyn Health, who has been supporting all these events, we're so glad you're here. Tonight we have a candidate forum for our city council, followed by our mayoral candidates. I'm Steve DeAbria, the Gaston Business Association, and I cannot wait to hand over the microphone to James Estes with the office of Tim Moore, and he's going to talk a little bit about the format and get things going. So thank you all.
Good evening, everyone. Hope y'all are doing well. Thank you for coming out tonight. Excited to hear from the candidates. Thank you to you six for participating tonight. Appreciate y'all taking the time out of your schedules. Thank you to the GBA for hosting us, putting it together. And thank you to TechWorks for opening your doors and hosting this. I'm James Estes, work for Congressman Tim Moore. I am excited to be the one who reads the questions tonight. I don't live in Belmont, so I can't vote for any of you. So I get to say I'm impartial. So I'm going to read some questions that the GBA and public have submitted to you all, and we'll go through them. I'm going to have each of you spend 2 minutes introducing yourselves to everyone in the room tonight, and then with each question we'll do 60 seconds for a response, and then at the end, once all the questions are answered, we will do 60-second closing statements. We'll start our first question here and work our way down the line as we progress with each question. That way everyone can take turns answering first. We'll go ahead and get started with the introductions.
Good evening, fellow citizens. I'm David Chi. I am one of the members of the Belmont City Council. If you don't know me, that's okay. You see my orange sign around town. Just a little bit about me. Background, I have experience previously in municipal government. I just recently moved here from Massachusetts, and I've spent time as the equivalent of a council member, what we call a selectman in the town of North Attleboro. And I just recently finished the term before I moved here in March as a school board member, what we call school committee member. So I have a balanced view of town government and town life, both on the government and education side. And in the years that I was not a member of the Board of Selectmen and I was a 2-term school board committee member, I was basically on the finance committee, which is basically an oversight committee that reported to the town government, and as well as being back in England, what they call a representative town meeting member, which means basically your local neighborhood person goes in to vote on all the budgets, attend a whole bunch of meetings during the year and represent your neighborhoods. That's my experience quickly, and then basically just what my platforms are, so you know quickly before we start. I am all for experience. I am all for conservative spending. I'm all for collaboration. I've done many things over the years, supported police facilities, supported building a new high school. I'm also a culture person. I actually personally sponsored a kite festival, and I ran a 9-man volleyball exhibition. If you don't know what 9-man volleyball is, look it up, it's an exciting sport. And then the last 3 things I want to mention is my disparities. I'm all about collaboration, working with everyone, not just current leadership, like voters. Everybody counts. And I believe in volunteerism and the quality of life. I think those last 2 elements hopefully appeal to all of you. If you have ideas, I want to hear about them. I like to advocate for them. And I really do believe that there is a spirit in the city. I love the city since I've come here. I think we're going to make it sunny. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mark Seelinger, and I had the pleasure and honor of serving as your city councilman from 2019 to 2023. Last 6 months of that, I got to serve as mayor of our great town, which was the experience of a lifetime. My background is in data analytics. I do a lot of poking around databases, spreadsheets, and all kinds of financial and other categorical information to figure out what stories that data is telling us. I use that. Okay. I'll just yell. So my wife and I own the Marco's Pizza in Gastonia, as well as the second location we have in Charlotte. So I bring that business experience to my public service in a way that I think is very valuable for residents of our city. Anyone who served on council with me knows that I take the budgeting process extremely seriously in our town. I'm probably the only person in the entire county who enjoys budget season. And that's because I like nothing more than diving through the city's financial reports to figure out better ways to spend our money so that we are getting the best value for that tax dollar that you're paying. We ask quite a lot from our residents as far as what they pay in their taxes. So I think it is incumbent on the council to make sure that money is well spent. In my first term, we spent a lot of time reorienting the city's approach to development in a way that took account of all the impacts of that development. So looking at impacts of things like traffic and utilities, roads, infrastructure, all those things. What I'd like to focus on in my second term, and what I hear quite a lot from people, is figuring out ways to dig out of that hole that we find ourselves in, particularly on the roads. They're also addressing a lot of the neighborhood safety issues that I hear quite a lot about. So making sure that we're keeping our streets safe for all the families, kids, pets, and other people that live on the streets throughout our city, so that as we grow, we're growing in a way that is both sustainable and safe. Thank you.
My name is Catherine O'Kane, and I'm running for Belmont City Council, and I'm not excited about budget season. But I'm glad someone is. It's good balance. I'm running for City Council because I believe our city deserves leadership that reflects everyone who calls Belmont home, not just one demographic or one perspective. I have over 30 years of experience in counseling, mediation, and conflict resolution skills, and I was a small business owner of my own private counseling practice for 20 years. I do have my undergraduate degree in psychology from the University of Georgia, the Dolls, and then I have my master's degree in counseling from the University of South Carolina School of Medicine. For 24 years, and currently, moving forward, hopefully, 10 more, or maybe longer, I'm employed full-time with the North Carolina Judicial Branch as a custody mediator. I serve families and children, developing court documents, working with judges, attorneys, court staff, and community agencies. I served on the State of North Carolina Judicial Branch Family Court Advisory Committee, it's a mouthful, appointed by Chief Justice Sarah Parker from September 2006 to June 2009, and in July 2024, I began serving on the Gaston County, North Carolina Child Fatality Prevention Team, and I'm still on that team moving forward. I was born in Washington, D.C., the hub of politics. I've always had a passion for democracy and have family mentors for democracy. My 5th and 6th great grandfathers fought in the American Revolution for our country's freedoms. My 2nd great uncle was Speaker of the House of Maryland in 1909 and was state auditor. Currently, one of my cousins is a Virginia state senator. I'm married and have lived in Belmont since 2019, and my most valued and important work experience is being a mom of 6 children. I'm a project manager of the family, and it is not easy. Lots of moving parts. My position is making Belmont equal for everyone and something that represents everyone. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Alex Zooks. I currently serve on City Council for Belmont my first term. A little bit about me, I'm originally from Gastonia. I grew up in the area. This is where I met my wife, where we decided to move back to after college, and we have our son Felix, who's 1.5. A little bit about me. Additionally, I currently serve as the chairman of the Historic Belmont Foundation, primarily involved with historic preservation efforts in our area. For me, as it's been in my first term and in continuation in the second one, I want to ensure that we preserve our small town charm that has kept me and my family here today, and why we want to raise our family here. You have to forgive me, I'm a little bit nervous, I'm a finance guy, I'm not generally meant to be in front of people, but so I do apologize for that, but I do love budget season as well. But look, some of the important factors that we've done, primarily as it pertains to development, over the years, Belmont has experienced this massive overgrowth, which is what I would call it, that has caused our lacking infrastructure, particularly in roads, particularly in our sewer and wastewater facilities, is what we're seeing today. And what we've done about this is myself and actually Mark on council as well, and Richard Turner pushed through a sewer capacity study to show that our Sound Point Boulevard and the line that goes down is at capacity, which is what then led council to push through the moratorium that we see today on the Southern Peninsula to pause growth. Essentially for us, we have to focus, and sometimes it's okay to push pause so that we can look forward and continue to grow in the right way. And we have to grow and benefit what benefits Belmont and attributes to our small town charm. And that's why I'm running. I want to see these additional projects come to fruition. Thank you.
Alright, thanks everyone for coming. I'm Nick Vesley. I'm a professional civil engineer, and that makes me uniquely qualified to deal with things like transportation, infrastructure, and development. One of the things we have on city council right now is an effective budget finance group of individuals. And that's great, we all want our tax dollars spent effectively. But I think it's time that we add someone with a different level of expertise so we have a more well-rounded council. So about me personally, my wife and I moved to Charlotte for work. There's not a lot of rural jobs in engineering. So we started looking at all the outlying towns, realizing we don't really want to live in Charlotte. And the first day down at downtown Belmont, we said this is an excellent town. We really want to raise our family here. Belmont's unique in the fact that we have a main downtown that doesn't have the city or the main state highway running down the middle of it. And that's great, we love that. So one of the things I wanted to do was be more part of this town, and I joined the Planning and Zoning Board back in 2019. And after the last 6 years, I've seen Belmont deal with the growth that we've all kind of struggled with. One of the things I think we've kind of missed the mark on is that we've been constantly in this catch-up, playing from behind, trying to react to the development that's coming into town. We're not doing as much proactive thought and kind of looking at the next step forward. And I feel like that's where me, as a business owner, my office is right next door. I started a company here in town. I have 3 employees now. I'm looking to grow that further into Belmont. And I'm really excited about the opportunities we have to grow, but grow in a smart way. Grow our office capabilities, grow our commercial development, grow places like North Belmont that we haven't really spent a lot of time into. So there's a lot of opportunity that I feel like I would be a great asset to city council. I'm a technical expert, and sure, I think, budget experts are great, but, I'm adding that extra step of the way. So a vote for me would be a vote to add that technical expertise and a more well-rounded city council. Thanks.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming out. My name is Greg Mazza. I'm relatively new to Belmont. We learned about Belmont by way of Holy Angels when my son had been a resident until April. We came here from Minnesota, so obviously all the reasons we know here. I just want to say between Nick and Mark, I think I got you guys covered. I'm an engineer, so I like the techie stuff and know how things work and how complex systems can be issues. But I'm also a CFO, so I love budgets when they're done properly, because I've seen a lot that don't work so good. Back to how I got here. Started in Pittsburgh. I've been in a lot of places. Ohio State for my engineering degree. Some people might say I'm confused because I have an Ohio State degree as well as a Michigan MBA. So I kind of look at it as an opportunity for good teams every week. So that's my excuse for that. As far as my vision and perspective on city council, I think my platform is pretty simple. It's like get the basics right. There's about 5 points. Safety, you gotta have a safe environment, whether it's in the schools, the environment, downtown with the traffic, services, efficient city services. Alex talked a little bit about that, the sewer systems, infrastructure, roads, things like that. Thoughtful, controlled development. I know taxes are pretty high for a small town. And I know there have been some initiatives where more development coming in might raise the tax base, but I think you gotta be smart about that. The last 2, obviously, one of my favorite it's budgeted, fiscal responsibility. You can't get ahead of yourself. We've seen this at the federal level where they're so far behind they'll never catch up, and we don't want to ever be in that situation. And finally, what everybody loves about the town here is the small town charm. It's got a vibe. It's not Charlotte. I don't think we want to be Charlotte. It's not Gastonia, nothing against them. It's not Atlanta. It's its own thing, and I think we really want to preserve that as much as possible. So thank you.
Perfect. All right, thanks everyone. And as a reminder for the candidates, the time to respond will be 60 seconds. And Pat will have the sign there as your timekeeper. These questions were submitted by the GBA. Yeah. These questions were submitted by the GBA and people from Belmont, and so we'll jump right in. David, you'll kick us off. If we can keep the microphone passed around, that way everyone can talk into it. Keep in mind it's directional, so you need to talk into the microphone. We'll start with David and work our way down. So question one, what motivated you to run for Belmont City Council, and what values or experiences will guide how you serve the Belmont residents?
I've always loved giving back to community. I enjoy people. I like talking to them. And what guides me is I'm not afraid to listen to questions and provide a response. It may not be the answer the gentleman or gentlewoman maybe was asked looking for, but I always try to get an informed decision. If there's something I don't know, I'll admit to it. If I make a mistake, I'll make a mistake, but I do my darndest to make sure that we have a clear, concise picture of any decision-making process that we go through. From experience, I quickly told you regarding my fiscal end that I had experienced previously before. But my background is financial. I'm actually a retired supervisor from the Massachusetts Department of Revenue. I spent 39 years there analyzing financial statements and understanding what people were going through. Just trying to make bills meet and understanding that and translate that to the municipal aspect. So I understand I'm not going to waste your money. So I think that's the key thing I'm going to bring on board before the city gets any cloudy. I want to keep it sunny. Thank you.
All right. Well, for me, the reason I'm running is because there's still quite a bit of work to do. As I mentioned during my first term, I felt like we were going to give that a theme. If you find yourself in a hole, the first step to getting out is to stop digging. So that was what I focused a lot of my energy on last time around. And this time around, kind of like as Alex mentioned with the sewer capacity issues that we have, the existing stresses on our roads, there's still quite a bit of work that needs to be done to upfit all that infrastructure around town to accommodate the growth that's already here. And I think that presents a really exciting and important opportunity for the city because it's important that be done right. But it's also important that it be done in a way that is affordable for the people of the city. And then finally, what motivates me quite a bit is just my family. My wife has joked that she expects me to bury her in the backyard. Which I'm not sure is actually legal, but we're here for the long haul. We got the two boys, so I want to make sure they've got a city that they can live and enjoy as much as I've enjoyed it. Thank you.
What's motivated me to run for Belmont City Council is to have more than one perspective represented. I think it's wonderful that everyone's an engineer or a business individual and knows budgets. I understand budgets are important as well. But there's other things that are important too. People, community, the environment, family. This race isn't about partisanship, but it's about priorities. So a lot of my priorities are bringing us together as much as possible. We all have our differences, but working together to make it more of an effective city and be more invested. There's just one perspective going on right now, and I would like leadership that listens and changes moving forward for our future.
So my common theme, a little bit of why I'm running, is actually also what motivates me, and that's our community. As many have spoken up here, it's about or as some people remember, in visiting with friends, working here, raising my son here, our son here, meeting my wife here. It's that community, my family's here, my friends are here. It's going into downtown and knowing people. And that's also what motivates me. And why does it motivate me? Kind of what I mentioned in the opening. We have to keep our small town charm. We can lose it just like that. We don't have to have super high density in our community to be successful. We can bring manufacturing in. We can recruit the best of the best to bring jobs and tax revenues to our area. And this existing council is doing that today. North Belmont was identified as a particular area for warehouses and distribution. This council said, no, we want manufacturing. We want jobs in our area, not just some fully automated facility that's not going to generate that. So to answer your question of what motivates me is this community and my family and my friends that are here today. Thank you.
Yeah, so generally speaking, I think I live by a mantra, which is if you have the capability, you have the responsibility. And so when I was thinking about my term on planning and zoning is coming to an end here, actually next meeting in 2 weeks, and I'll pass the torch on to the next council or next board. And I felt like I still had something left in the tank. I feel like the city council is missing that element of some kind of technical expertise to really weigh in and kind of help move these things forward, like help get the right development, help work with DOT. You know, I'm probably the only one that has a relationship with DOT since I work with them every day. So when it comes down to why I'm here, why I'm doing this, I care the same way about a lot of everyone else standing up here. Is, we have a responsibility to take care of the city and move it into the next direction. I mean, we're a suburb of Charlotte, whether we want to be or not. So whether we take advantage of that and do things in the right way, or we're going to sit back and keep letting the developers kind of take over. So I appreciate everyone being here.
So everybody loves a finance guy, right? So come into a company, try to solve some problems. What they don't know is really good finance guys are also really strategic. And I think what we need here, and I'm hearing a lot of visions for really great evolution for the city. But a city is a complex business. You can take any business, there's a lot of complexity to it. Cities are very much the same. And I think what we really need is a strong strategic vision that everybody can get behind. Then the decisions that you're making, if they fall in line with what's already been agreed to, there's a lot less discussion about whether this is good or bad. If it aligns with that, you can really get on to really strong execution of the elements that make the city stronger. So I think that's going to be really important for the evolution of the city and the town to maintain that charm that we all love.
All right, Mark, you'll kick us off with our second question. And if you need me to repeat the question, just yell at me. So Mark, question 2. How would you balance Belmont's rapid growth with preserving the small town character and charm that residents value?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's been a lot of what's motivated me here over the last several years is you have to, I think that particularly protecting the charm of our downtown is very important. We've got, I think, one of the most unique downtowns in the region that's, the envy of all the surrounding cities and towns. So protecting that is very important, and that means, not overbuilding it. We can't put 10-story buildings up all around it and expect it to still be the amazing place it is today. I think it also means understanding where the current pressure points are in the city, and understanding where growth is appropriate and where it isn't. Many parts of the city right now are just overbuilt. So the council's got to be willing to say, no more, until we get the infrastructure situation under control. So I think it's that balance and knowing when to say no and, being willing to stand up for the people of this city, because that's really why the number one job of the council right now. Thank you.
In terms of rapid development, the main challenges of Belmont are related obviously to the Charlotte sprawl. I lived in Charlotte for 22 years until I moved here. I loved Charlotte when I first moved there in 1997, but then I didn't love Charlotte anymore because it got too busy, it got too expensive, and I love Belmont. I love it, I really do. I grew up in the country, and it, like everyone is talking about, it does have that charm. 257 people per day are moving to the Charlotte area region, which includes Belmont. This fast growth is leading to increased population and demands on resources, water, sewer, energy, etc. So what we first need to do is focus on the basics. Like moving forward the sewer system, the water, the pipes, just the basics, and then we can move forward. Thank you.
Do you mind repeating the question?
How would you balance Belmont's rapid growth with preserving the small town character and charm that residents value?
I would say that yes, I think it is. I would say this, it's okay to say no. This council has said no to certain developments that we did not feel like would benefit this area. When we're looking at developments, developers are coming to council and asking for our input, what we feel like and how should we vote for this. One of the things that goes through my mind is, me growing up in this area, the area that my son is growing up right now, do I think that that fits this existing mold, that small town community? And if I say no, then I vote no. And to be fair, particularly with the rapid growth that you've mentioned, I haven't voted for a major development except for one, and that being Lakeview Farms, but that was to get infrastructure improvement where we're having the developer pay for widening South Point Road and help us pay to bring sewer line infrastructure down South Point Road. That's the key, is ensuring that we're having these developers pay their fair share. Because the way I look at it, why should we continue to raise our taxes to continue to build up an aging infrastructure for new development? From my perspective, we have to continue to have them pay the additional share, that we don't keep increasing our own taxes. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think as a business, one of your main things you want to do is you want to grow or you want to die. And obviously your point is to grow. So, you know, when I'm here in my office, I'm going to grow out of that soon. I think that's great. But hopefully I have a place to go. And right now in Belmont, there's really not a lot of options for me to go anywhere. So I'm not saying we need to go redevelop downtown. I think we keep the things that are good about Belmont that we want to stay. Then we have other things that maybe could be improved, like North Belmont's a great example. Even some of Catawba Boulevard is a great, Catawba Avenue rather is a great example. Those are areas that are prime for someone else to come in and say, hey, we can do better than what we have. It would be great to walk down downtown the same way we walk down Catawba Street, but we don't right now because we're not thinking proactively about where we go next, right? And then when my kids grow up, I want them to live in town. And right now, it's either you buy a $600,000 house in the peninsula, or maybe you wait for someone to move out after 20 years. So I think we still need to think about where are we going to put the things that we need to grow, and how are we going to do that responsibly?
So the one thing I think about, since being a relatively new resident, we keep talking about small town charm, and I think one of the things I would want to contemplate is what's driving the growth. Is it just the small town charm? Is it a little bit lower cost of living in Charlotte? What are exactly the factors? And then back to that strategic vision, what do we want to be? There's a lot of cities around the state, around the whole country that we can look to for models. So do you want to be like, pick one, you want to look like NODA over in Charlotte? There's a great town in Detroit called Birmingham, Michigan. That's a really great town, totally different. Everybody that lives in each one of those loves it, but a whole different kind of vibe. Both are attracting people in a high growth area. So I think it's, what do we want to be and how are we going to drive that growth? And is it all just residential, or how can we attract some, modern high tech businesses that are going to improve the tax base as well without creating the sort of issues that we've got from really big developments coming in?
All right, Catherine, you're gonna kick us off for question number 3. Oh, yeah, just give me, that's my fault, sorry. Dave, go ahead.
Sorry, this is my 60 seconds. I actually agree with Nick on a couple things, and this is tied to that idea of balance. He had mentioned $600,000 homes. I personally would advocate for and monitor the actual housing stock that's under the new construction development. So our young folks that want to make a family here can have a chance. I want to see what we can do about having housing stock for new construction at an appropriate cost of living, which is affordable, okay? Because I know most young couples starting out, they're not going to be able to afford $600 $100,000 home unless, mom and dad give them a large amount, and that's pretty straightforward. In terms of balance, I read the, development update plan, that's wonderful, on our Belmont.org, and I feel that from the business end, we should incentivize, keep vacant buildings, fill them up. If we need renovation or our building's not cost effective, that's fine, tear it down. We do a practical way of looking at it. But most important thing, and as I talk to people here, is infrastructure. We're gonna work on it. Thank you.
All right, now we're on to Catherine for question 3. Sheila, is that one working again? Okay, question 3. If asked to fill a council vacancy, what would guide your decision the most? Selecting someone aligned with your views, or choosing someone with a different perspective to strengthen representation and debate?
Both. I think it's important to have someone on city council that the city of Belmont voted for. I believe there has been times in the past that I've looked at online where someone has filled a position that did not get like the second or third most votes, which I was a little disappointed in that, because one of the many reasons we have voting is so we can all cast our vote and our voice. But also too, it's important to have a city council that reflects everyone in Belmont, not just one perspective or one vision. So I would definitely look at both. Thank you.
Can you say the question one more time?
Yeah. If asked to fill a council vacancy, what would guide your decision most? Selecting someone aligned with your views, or choosing someone with a different perspective to strengthen representation and debate?
Look, I've been on council where we've had to appoint someone, so I can speak to this. I would not say it was just to align to my personal views, but what I will say is to fill the seat with the person who had those views. For example, that person who won that seat in the vacancies that we've had recently won the election. So in my mindset, I found it only fair for my vote to appoint someone that had similar views to that person who won that seat. So that's kind of was my rule and guide when we did fill those vacancies on council.
Yeah, I think I take a little bit different approach. I think when you're building a team, you want a good, well-rounded team so you can be able to solve the problems correctly. I think like planning board in our case, we did a really great job of having engineers, developers, real estate agents, contractors, a good technical mix of people. So if we're looking at our issues are going to be traffic, infrastructure, and development, you know, if we have 4 people with finance, you bring in a fit finance person, you might bring in an engineer, you might bring in a developer, you might bring in someone with a little bit varying expertise. So I think it's less relevant what my opinion is about certain things or about anyone else's opinion or maybe even the previous seat holder, because I think you have to see it as an opportunity to try to fill a vacancy on a team.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, I think, the city is very much like a business, it's very complex, there's a lot of complex systems and decisions to make. And the people that are in the city are equally as complex, there's a lot of opinions and perspectives. And I think appointing somebody that would fill in to help balance that diversity of thought. I like to be careful when I say diversity because I really mean diversity of experience, because on teams, and I've been in a lot of big businesses where somebody on the team will come up with a perspective to solve a problem that nobody ever expected. And the only way you get that is by seeking out people that have got that depth of experience that may actually challenge your own thoughts. And I think that really contributes to the betterment of moving things forward.
I think what motivates me, sort of, if I were voting just like a candidate, is the diverse background. That's helpful. I'll talk about that in a second, quickly. The person that you feel confident can do the job. Is there enough there? Is there something there that candidate is going to bring to the table that's going to convince you that's a major issue, they're going to take care of it, and they're going to advocate for you? the most important thing to me. As far as from a diverse background, that helps. I represent how you see my generation, which I see a lot of young. I see perspectives from everyone. I'm a girls' high school volleyball referee. I'm a Meals on Wheels driver, volunteer. I do different things, so I keep my eyes open to every age group here in the city. My father was a businessman. I love business people. I also encourage everyone, no matter what happens, be a volunteer, be an advocate. That's the difference. If you speak up loud enough, your person, whoever you choose, whether it's a diverse background or not, is going to do the job. That's my hope.
Yes, so like Alex, this is actually not a theoretical question for me, since I've actually voted to fill a vacancy before. And I can tell you that the approach that I took was trying to find someone who was aligned with the person whose seat was being vacated. We have elections, particularly here lately, they've been very, candidates been running on very clear platforms, I think. When the voters clearly elect someone on a clearly defined platform, and that person, for whatever reason, is not able to fill out the rest of their term, I think it's incumbent on the council to respect the will of the voters, as expressed through that election, and fill it with someone who's, aligned with that policy. Anything less than that really doesn't make sense to me. And then, of course, it's not as if that person's in the seat forever either. We are gonna have other elections, and then the voters can obviously ratify that decision or not, at the next election. So, that is, my approach to this.
All right, Alex, you're going first for question number 4. Belmont continues to experience infrastructure challenges, particularly related to roads, sidewalks, and sewer capacity. What steps would you support to ensure growth doesn't outpace these systems?
Well, it's pretty nice because we've already taken a lot of these steps already. One is implementing the moratorium that we implemented on the Southern Peninsula to stop building so that our roads and our sewer capacity, our sewer lines can catch up. Secondly, first we introduced the sewer capacity study to lead to the moratorium. Then we expanded the sewer capacity study across all of Belmont, not just the Southern Peninsula. When we did this study, we identified that the line going down the Southern Peninsula is at capacity. That's why we passed the moratorium, and that's why we're pushing pause on development back then. We have to have infrastructure to catch up before we can continue to even think about growth. And then when we expanded it to the other pieces of the city, we started identifying that there are other areas, not just in the southern portion of Belmont, North Belmont, East Belmont, Central Belmont, that is having similar types of issues. So for me, we have taken those steps. We're actively trying to do it. A development recently came through Belmont, it was voted down. Now, portions of it was because of sewer concerns and others in regards to potentially having to raise taxes for infrastructure improvements that it was proposing. So again, I feel like I have been taking these steps with this existing council and will continue to do that in the future if reelected.
Yeah, so the question's phrased, how would you prevent it? I think it's too late, right? I think we already have problems, and now it's the question, how do we fix them? So I think we've been hyper-focused the last few years on how do we get these massive state grants and federal grants and everything else, state projects and transportation is a good example. And we keep running into brick walls because we're not a big enough city to get the state interested, or we just don't meet some kind of criteria. So one of the big things that I want to do is, where do we identify the micro projects where we can spend the city's money on a small project to make a big impact. It won't be 100% fixed, but maybe it's enough where you notice the difference. And especially on water and sewer projects, one of the requirements of a lot of the state funding is actually that the city puts up a little bit of the money first and contributes to the grant. That's especially true with state transportation improvements, and I think it's one of the disadvantages that we have is that we're not willing to spend the small money on the short-term fix. We're just so hyper-focused on the major fix that's just 10, 20 years down the road, and I don't think we have time to wait for that.
So this is for me one of the key issues of my get the basics right 5 points, which is infrastructure. And anybody in the city, you turn on the water faucet, you expect the water to come out, and the water should be clean and not poisoned. I'm not saying that we have that, but I mean, you have certain expectations, safety, it's roads don't have holes in them, the traffic lights work, all that. This is part of getting the basics right. And I think it's, you know, how can we leverage the resources that are available to us if the state is, you know, not cooperating with us? Like, what does it take? How do you be persistent to get those funds and get that resource to help us out? And it's just, it's part of what people expect. And if we get behind, catching up is not a plan. So that prioritization, I think Nick's right to a certain extent. We can pick up small wins and get momentum, and that can grow into bigger opportunities to make sure we position well for the future, balanced with the growth.
This part we're going to discussion comes down to a major thing, and that is to let the public, as well as the government, all be on board in one thing. How much does everything cost, and what can we afford to spend? Basically, something very simple. The pumping station, once that goes online from Belmont, obviously it's gonna incur costs, whether it's the capital industry cost, and then the ongoing cost of the actual treatment of the sewage. We should know what that's gonna cost us down the road. Once we understand that, we also have to understand the city budget in terms of what is our cash reserves. I'm assuming everyone knows traditionally, North Carolina takes a third of their revenues and sets them aside on a cash reserve basis, okay? Let's take a look. What do we have going forward that we can use to spend in a proper manner to repair the key spots in town that need infrastructure fixes? The current ones, not the future ones, that's for the developers. Are our current pipes working? Whether it's the water pipes or whether it's the water sewage pipe, are those in good condition? Are the sidewalks in good condition? Are there streets that we can fix? That's what we need to look at, and I'm willing to look at the numbers.
So a lot of the impacts from development can be quantified. You know, you put in a project that has 100 homes, it's gonna be great. That's gonna put so many cars on the road, that's gonna require so many gallons of sewage capacity, et cetera. So a lot of these things, you know, it's very complicated math, you can measure them. So for me, when a project comes through, if it's not accounting for those and it's not attempting to mitigate them or even acknowledge them in some cases, you know, it's a hard pass for me because, you know, I think that we need to be cognizant of all of those impacts because it doesn't just affect people in the new project, whatever it is that's going to be built, it affects everyone around them. You know, and I think that it's important that we keep that front of mind, and that's always the first question that I ask myself when I'm looking at a project proposal is, how is this going to impact the community, and what are they doing about it to minimize that impact?
One of the main things is prevention, not reaction. A lot of what happened with the sewer system was reaction. So yes, we have to address, which is going on now in terms of the sewer system, to have that workable and for the future. But also prevention. Prevention is so important when it comes to our city, the environment, renewable energy, using different options, looking at our drinking water, make sure it's safe, not contaminated, making sure we have a prevention plan in place in terms of a flood risk. There is a small flood risk in Belmont, and making sure there's a plan in place. So looking at prevention and not reaction.
All right, Nick, question 5, you kick us off. How would you work to increase transparency and public trust in council decision-making, especially around development and spending?
Yeah, so I think it's education-based, right? So a lot of the times we'll make these reactionary decisions when it comes to development, and they're triggered by some kind of public response. So I think a perfect example actually is the recent Saki Express decision, where city council elected to pause a local developer, make them wait 2 extra months and pay $30,000 for a transportation study, when we all know what it's going to say. And that's where I feel like my technical expertise, I know how some traffic studies work, I can read the reports. I don't think anyone else really knew what they were looking afraid of this fear of this transportation, whether or not it's gonna be an impact. So I think the education aspect of it is that we need to be better as a city council to explain, okay, why did we make these decisions? Are they based on some education that we have or some expertise that we have, or are we just following public opinion? Because if we're gonna vote by public opinion, then I might as well just issue everyone a place card here. You can fill in the circle, we'll read the results, and then issue a statement from there. And that's just not good leadership. I think we can do better about telling you, hey, this is why. You might not have an engineering background, you're not gonna explain it, you're not gonna understand it in full, but we can get you enough of the way there where you feel trust that we know what we're doing.
Yeah, I think this is a question that comes back to what I mentioned earlier about strategic vision, agreement on the strategy and the future vision for the city overall. And then beyond that is sort of data-driven decisions. Take some of that opinion out of it. There's actual facts and figures and data that supports the decision that's being made, and the transparency and the communication that lets everybody know this is why the decision made, and this is how it all aligns with previous agreements of, what's the strategic vision, where do we want to be, how does this play into any of the particular development plans we have for the city. So that's, again, sort of getting ahead of the game, being proactive, setting priorities, and really being, again, data-driven versus just opinion-driven, because everybody's going to have a different opinion. If we can all align on what the vision is, then you can figure out how your opinions play into supporting that vision.
One of the most important things regarding transparency in government, I always believed, is the minority opinion. If you're sitting on the council and the decision's made, I would say the vote was whatever, 42. We as an audience, we want to know why was there people that were opposed to take the decision? Once we understand that, we're educated. But we just say, oh, they all voted a certain way, I'll just agree with them. That's not the way to go. And it comes from two things. One, educating, and I believe that we have a beautiful government website. And I think more importantly, we have to learn how to interface with the boards that advise our council, interface with your citizen advocates out there that have an objection or want to advocate particularly. And that's why we're coming as a city council person. I want to interact. I have no previous biases, and I've always been a person that collaborates, and that's how things get done. So the collaboration, the transparency work hand in hand. Just keep that in mind. Speak up, talk to us, and hold us accountable. Thank you.
So I actually think that listening to the people who live in the area and around the project is very important. I think that they bring a perspective to these projects that is often overlooked. The Sake Express example is actually pretty interesting because it goes exactly to what I was talking about earlier, where in that case there was no traffic study done, there was no data, there was nothing to evaluate, and the developer was basically saying that don't worry about it. When you talk to the people who live on 6th Street who have to live with that traffic every single day, and I can't tell you the number of them who told me that they would have to sell their houses if this went in, because it's already very dangerous, there's already a lot of traffic, and putting a high traffic commercial building on that corner, as was proposed, without even bothering to understand the traffic impact was, in my opinion, extremely irresponsible. So, I'm all about getting public feedback, particularly from the neighborhoods that are impacted. If you read my Facebook, I'm very open and accessible, and that's by design. Thank you.
In terms of transparency, leadership that listens. I've been a licensed counselor for about 30 years. I've done a lot of listening. And I'm not perfect at it, but I'm pretty good. And that's what I do every day, 5 days a week, 40 hours a week. And it's important to listen to what citizens of Belmont, what their perspective position is. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it. There may be some instead of why did we make this decision?
So, first let me start, is we on council serve the people. And the people's opinion matter, as Mark was alluding to, and I sit on council and I did indeed vote for Saki to do TIA, or traffic impact analysis, or attractive traffic analysis, I should say. And why is that? That's the people who live on that street. 6th Street came out with concerns, similar ones I heard that Mark mentioned, such as emails coming to me, the traffic. It's a cut through today. Our job on city council, while it might be nice to say, yes, we've got to check the boxes and do this, but ultimately at the end of the day, what it boils down to is we listen to the people and the people who elect us. And that's why I voted to have Saki do that TIA. But as it pertains to transparency in regards to growth, I'm available on Facebook. I post updates. I try to get out to the community and let people know, particularly if it's in an area that impacts you. Come out and speak, because there's nothing more powerful than coming out to a council meeting and sitting in front of the council and telling your opinion, because it does matter. And I can tell you, it does sway votes, and it can come down to a vote going yes or a vote going no. So thank you.
All right, Greg, you're going to kick us off for question 6. Belmont's downtown and small business community are key parts of the city's identity. What is your vision for supporting existing businesses and attracting new ones?
Yeah, this is, having worked at big companies, I did mention before that I spend a lot of time with small entrepreneurs and founders of innovation. I taught a little bit at UNC for startup companies, so I realized the struggle that they have, trying to make it, this is a perfect environment for small companies. A lot of times they get squeezed out by big competitors like Home Depot and Amazon and all these, but I think people being attracted to our small town is a perfect environment for small business. And it sort of comes back to that vision, what do we want our Main Street to look like? I mean, do we have a vision for what sort of a makeup of the sort of businesses that we want to have there, and how do we support them? And it's not just providing space, but I think it's zoning, it's marketing support, it's communication and engagement in the community. There's a whole range of things that we can do to support these businesses of all types. And it's also down to what's the mix of businesses. I think we have one big coming up issue. We've got a lot of development coming in. I love the restaurants we have. Where are all these people going to eat? So that's one thing I'm thinking about. Thanks.
James, can you repeat?
Belmont's downtown and small business community are key parts of the city's identity. What is your vision for supporting the existing businesses and attracting new ones?
Well, first off, I'd like to say congratulations to Belmont Trolley. I hope that comes through, and that'll be something that spurs some interest in our downtown. That's very important. We made an investment last year in it, and I hope we can continue to give them support, if not financially, to have at least the whole community behind it, to make sure that comes to fruition. In terms of incentives, as I had said earlier, I think we're going to create incentives and find out why a particular property is unoccupied. I like to see as close to 100% occupancy as possible in businesses. I like the fact that Greg mentioned the fact that let's get the right mix. Do we have enough restaurants? Do we have enough other types of stores? Let's keep an open mind. And let's not limit our visions to the city of Belmont just being the town center too. All the other neighborhoods are affected. All the other businesses that are located in the different sections of the city, we have to take that into account as well. But of course, I would love to see that trolley pulling up to the station downtown in the next few years. And that's the direction, that's the positive direction we're going. And I want to add one other thing. I'd like to see a rubber running track at the high school. That will bring some excitement and also generate some potential people coming to town too.
So this is actually something that's a little personal to me, because our Marco stores are retail food service establishments, which are not too dissimilar from a lot of the businesses that currently populate our downtown. So I understand a lot of the day-to-day struggle and also rewards that go with owning a business like that. When I was on council, I had the opportunity to be a part of the Main Street program, which was a
to look at marketing. I love the website, but I think we need a little bit more in terms of Belmont and attracting new businesses in different areas and venues to come. Thank you.
Belmont was a very different place, about 15 years ago. There's a lot of for sale, for lease in our downtown, in our heart of our town. And you look at it today and it's thriving. I bet we're pretty darn close to 100% occupancy in our downtown. Now, we do have businesses that come in and out. And what I'll say is we have a gym, and what we do is, particularly through our Main Street program, I know it was mentioned tonight, Economic Vitality Committee, is we do community outreach, particularly to the small businesses. That's at the direction of our volunteer board, which is appointed by council, and they do a phenomenal job. They deal with events that partner with these businesses to ensure that they're successful through their economic fiscal years or calendar years. As it pertains to recruiting new businesses, council, on my suggestion at the last council retreat, contracted with a company called Retail Strategies. Retail Strategies is coming in to look at the Wilkinson Boulevard and see how can we build a better boulevard, truly. It was a project that was done years ago, but with us revitalizing it and focusing on Belmont within our own core district, is for us to see what type of new opportunities can we have to bring to our community. So with that, again, I'll pass on to Matt. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question?
Belmont's downtown and small business community are key parts of the city's identity. What is your vision for supporting existing businesses and attracting new ones?
Right, so I think downtown's pretty easy because it's already the best part of Belmont, right? It's already the part we all enjoy, and it's where all the businesses come to enjoy the good downtown. I think it's more of a maintenance issue for me. The city already spends a good bit of money keeping up the planter boxes and the light posts and all the nice things that give downtown real character. I think there's no reason to stop doing that. We need to continue to support doing that. I think the next step in that, though, is we have 100-year-old water mains in downtown. I think we need to really start thinking about, hey, this is an old city with old infrastructure. Our response is basically wait till it breaks or I will fix it. And that's just not a strategy we can keep living by. I think we need to do a serious look at downtown in general, not just downtown businesses, but also downtown residents. I was walking Todd Street the other day, and I see water running down the gutter, even though it hasn't rained in 2 weeks. And what does that tell me? Okay, well, there's a water main break. Let's call the city and report it. Now, that's more of the same, respond to the problem, not necessarily be proactive about it. But I think if we get it right, we worry about how we're going to keep working on the maintenance aspect of things. I think we're going to have great businesses that don't have to worry about the water going out.
All right, we cycled through, so Dave is going to kick us off again first. All right, and David, your question. How can the city promote safe and accessible transportation, including sidewalks, bike lanes, and greenways, to better connect the neighborhoods?
At the core of the transportation is what service, primary service become available to get us to the town. And what I noticed that this the city of Gastonia is in the second year of the microtransit system, and that could potentially down the road be something we would look at, not on the same scales, but in terms of providing opportunities for transport for those who can't get around. And I'm sure we were, in terms of the other forms of transportation going through town, as mentioned, I've always been a fan of different ways to first address congestion. I always do it voluntarily, never do it with it's mandatory. Don't never have someone tell you have to do it. But some obvious opportunities are an increase in telecommuting, staggered driving hours, just to keep the congestion down. But as far as the actual physical stuff, the bike paths and the walkways and so forth, well, I just had my first start, as I mentioned earlier, a rubber running track at the high school, open to the public, would facilitate some of those needs. I love all those walkers and runners, but I don't want to see walking around those cracking sidewalks until we fix them. Thank you.
So I think connectivity is a big opportunity for us here in Belmont. As I've been out in the city, you just walk in different neighborhoods, you notice where sidewalks end, where sidewalks don't exist. I think that one of the things I'd like to see us do is fill in some of those gaps so that, you're building that connectivity between neighborhoods, particularly our downtown. I was talking to some people yesterday, who live on the other side of Keener Boulevard, which because it's very dangerous to cross that road. There are very few crossings available on it. It's a state road, so it's a complicated problem to solve, but we have built crossings across it before up there at Catawba. So, it can be done. It requires a lot of work, but I would like us to see us make an intentional effort to connect all those different neighborhoods around, particularly around our downtown, but throughout the city, so that people can walk and get to where they need to go. The advantage to that too is that if people can walk to our festivals, they don't need to drive a car and find a parking spot. So there's a practical benefit to this too. Thank you.
I agree for the short term, with David, that microtransit services is a wonderful, short-term, more immediate, solution or idea. It's an on-demand, app-based shared transportation service that provides flexible routes and scheduling to serve areas often in suburban or rural locations that are difficult to serve with traditional fixed route public transit. Using technology to route small vehicles like vans and shuttles based on real time. Some of the benefits are obviously it's much less expensive than doing just a random bus route that just keeps going in circles. It has increased accessibility, especially a lot of individuals who don't have transportation. It is ADA compliant, it's convenient, and it's cost effective. Sidewalks and pathways have to be continued and addressed, especially in North Belmont.
Do you mind repeating the question, please?
How can the city promote safe and accessible transportation, including sidewalks, bike lanes, and greenways, to better connect the neighborhoods?
Yeah, so currently I sit on the Gaston, Cleveland, Lincoln County MPO. And what that is essentially it's the infrastructure primarily in sidewalks, greenways, and roads governing body of our local area. And the past, I think I've sat on it 3 years now, the past 3 years, North Carolina and the state issues these individual governing bodies basically a safety target that each one has to hit. We haven't hit it a single year I've sat on this. So what we did this year is we went back to the state and we said, give us something that's measurable. Show us the intersections that we're having problems, which is particularly a lot in Belmont due to a lot of the traffic. Show us how we can improve. Why don't you start putting the funds behind these improvements so that we can actually get better? Because a lot of these are state roads and we require the state's funding in order to improve the intersections. But to speak to what the city's doing today, the city has initiated Vision Zero, particularly spearheaded by our police department, going into the community to try to educate people on trying to lower fatalities, particularly fatalities and injuries in our community, which seems to have been successful. We see these statistics coming down. There are spikes, but we are working our best to stop this.
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we do is we petition to the state. And obviously, we have a lot of state roads, and we need to get state funding to fix the state roads. But I think we've been hyper-focused in the last few years on trying to get these grants projects like widening South Point Road. And at the end of the day, those are $20, $30, $50 million projects. And what we've kind of forgotten about, just left to the wayside, is all these small projects that we can be doing as far as like fixing mediator ramps. I have 3 young kids. It's very difficult to take a stroller most places downtown. I don't know how it would be with anyone in a wheelchair, right? So those are the small things that we could be doing to micro-target things. But I think some of the other things we can be doing too is try to find the best bang for your buck projects. So while widening South Point Road to 4 lanes would be a great way to solve traffic on South Point Road, we can do smaller things like add a traffic light at Stowe Road, synchronize the lights, and we can do that for under $1 million. So now we're not waiting 10 years for the state to come in and fix our problems. We can be doing some of these things on our own.
So with the son in a wheelchair, I know all about sidewalks. And little bumps mean a lot, high curbs mean a lot. So, whether I'm on the council or not, I'm gonna help out with this one. But, think about innovation, what are some other things we can do? I know in South Park, they just instituted a free ride service called Skipper. It gets people around. That's one way you can reduce density of traffic at certain times of the day. That's supported by local businesses in the city. I know there's, and I just thought of this the other day because I was looking at the map, I know there's a unused rail line that runs top to bottom in Belmont. A lot of communities have taken those old unused rail right-of-ways and turned them into really great walking trails and bike lanes. I'd love to see a lot more bike lanes. I think this is a perfect community for people around their bikes, but it's just the way things are developed right now, it's really difficult. So that's just something to put on the priority list.
All right, Mark, you're gonna kick us off?
Go.
All right. How will you ensure that residents from all parts of Belmont, including newer and historically underrepresented neighborhoods, have a voice in the city's decisions?
Well, really by continuing a lot of what we're already doing. I'm very intentional about getting out into the neighborhoods and just meeting with people, going to community events and making myself available to meet with people. My Facebook is also designed intentionally to be easy and accessible for anyone who wants to reach me to have an input into my decision making. When I was on council, before every meeting, I'd write basically a preview of what was to come on the meeting, put that up on Facebook, and invite people to tell me what they thought. If there was something on the agenda that they wanted me to know about or consider, I invited that feedback. And then after each meeting, I'd do another post and let people know how the meeting went and provide any sort of insight or rationale for whatever decisions I made at that meeting. And then again, invited feedback from people. I believe in having very much making it a two-way conversation between me and the public because you guys honestly help me do my job better.
I would like to develop a website or group chat, just for the city council. So people can freely, not just, one individual's page. So it can be an open forum, as long as it's, nice, everyone's nice and respectful. Can't promise that. But, just, someone who can really, express their concerns. And so we know what it is. Now, not everyone likes Facebook or Instagram or any of that. I have an older friend, she's 92. She just has her home phone. So that's just one aspect. I think it's just like, some of us have been talking about, is going out, talking to people, and connecting. It's very important to connect. Thank you.
Can you repeat the question one more time? How will you ensure that residents from all parts of Belmont, including newer and historically underrepresented neighborhoods, have a voice in the city's decisions?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think, particularly for all of us as candidates, it starts here. Get out to the community, go door knocking, meet your neighbors, hear firsthand from the people who live in our community what the challenges and the issues that they face today. So what I did 4 years ago, that's what I'm attempting to continue to do this year as I run for city council. Secondly, we just had our comprehensive land use plan update. The city tries multiple times. We have to continue to have an open door for folks to come in to give their community input to see how they want to see this community developed. And also sometimes it's putting yourselves in uncomfortable situations as door knocking, even on council, and going and meeting with residential leaders, HOA leaders. We've done this in the past for councils. We'll go to various different neighborhoods organized by the HOA so that we can speak to the most people as possible. When you get elected, your job's not just to sit on city council and say good job. It's to continue to go out into the community and continue to get to the support and the feedback from the people that got you there. Thank you.
Yeah, so Belmont's kind of a strange city, right? We have our central historic Belmont, then we have a big gap, and then there's South Belmont, and then you cross this highway, and all of a sudden you're in North Belmont, and we feel very disconnected as a community. So a lot of the feedback that I've received over the last few weeks and months here is that there are certain communities that just feel like, yeah, we feel like we're forgotten, or nobody cares about us, or we're just too isolated from the main city, or we don't get the same improvements or infrastructure or maintenance tax or anything like that. So one of the things I'd actually like to do is say when we sit down and start looking at capital improvement projects, maybe we split the city up into wards, not for voting purposes, but for our own internal purpose, where we can say, okay, let's say we have $1 million funding this year for capital projects, and water and sewer is a good example, right? Well, which neighborhoods need it the most? Well, we have some old historic neighborhoods that really need it, but then we have some neighborhoods up in North Belmont that can use it too. So just because we have most of our infrastructure in Central City, doesn't mean that we should just say, hey, everyone else, you're on your own until we can work our way out that way. You know, obviously we have City Works downtown where all of our maintenance is dispatched from, and they can easily drive another 5 minutes to go look at some other neighborhoods.
So I mentioned before, went to Michigan for MBA and loved all the finance things I learned. But the biggest thing I learned, the wisest professor said, showing up is 90% of everything. And I think what we're talking about here is showing up for everybody in the community as the representatives. And I agree with most of what's been said here. There are a lot of HOAs and community centers and things that already exist, and people are getting together as neighbors and in neighborhoods that just showing up and going out and being proactive and meeting with them on their turf, so to speak, and engaging and being transparent and talking about the issues and getting feedback and input for, you know, what they think the direction of the community should be, to be invaluable. And it's just those words. I get into a lot of complex situations in business and I just think back to that, just show up. And you know, sometimes it's uncomfortable, but you know, you don't learn from being comfortable. So.
One of my favorite things when I first came to the city is I went to the library with a copy of that book, Images of Cities in America, and one up for Belmont. And I saw, reading about different people, I saw one person in this town who's the one with the best, Carol Troll. She used some beautiful drawings and sketches, maps of Fort Belmont. And I said, I've always loved maps. So conceptually, how do we invigorate our neighborhoods? Let's put them all on the map. Let's have a rotating road show, for example. We could have a community festival that rotates during certain times of year in each locale. We could have our politicians there to answer questions about what they've done for that community over that time. It would be a wonderful thing. It would attract vendors conceptually, and attract other folks from the different neighborhoods to say, hey, look, this is this neighborhood in North Belmont. This is this neighborhood in South Point. This is this neighborhood, not just downtown. And there's some convenient locations too. There's North Belmont Elementary School. You know, there's different places, venues that we could actually have this place. The middle school at South Point. So let's open our minds to different ideas like that to keep us diverse and also involved for our different neighborhoods.
All right, Catherine, you're gonna kick us off with our closing statements, so each candidate will have 60 seconds of closing remarks here. Yeah, we're on to closing statements now. 60 seconds of closing remarks, and candidates, I'll remind each of you, you've got a lot of folks who are in the room here. Highlight your social medias, your website. How can people stay in touch with you if they have follow-up questions that they didn't hear answered today? How can they stay in touch with you? So make sure you highlight that.
Thank you. My name is Catherine O'Kane, and I'm the best candidate for Belmont City Council. I'm a neighbor, a public servant who advocates for children and families, a mom and a wife, and a citizen who deeply cares about preserving Belmont's charm while moving it forward in thoughtful, inclusive, and responsible ways. I am transparent and I'm leadership that listens. Belmont is everyone's city. Who lives here? We all have the right to be informed about the decisions that need to be made about our city, so we all can have a voice. The current council is not always representing everyone who calls Belmont home. Our city is growing and changing, and it's time for our leadership to do the same. I humbly ask for your vote. If you would like to contact me, please contact me and check out my website at www.londonpayne.com. My email address is on there too. Thank you to all the citizens who came out tonight to listen. And thank you to Mr. Miller, Mr. Davria, and the Gaston Business Association for having this forum. Thank you for listening.
First of all, thank you all for coming, and thank you for hosting this with the GBA. I do appreciate of all, just to kind of recap, why I'm rerunning is I want to see this town, this city, stay the way that I love it, just like a lot of you all today. And it's that small town community. Now, growth is inevitable, but we on council have the authority and the power to be able to ensure that it's growth that benefits our community and attributes and continue to contribute to our small town charm. I intend to stay here. My wife's here, my parents are here, my in-laws are here, my sister's here, my wife's sister's here, my family's here. This is where my roots are. This is where I grew up, and this is where I intend to stay. There's been a lot of folks up here saying reactive, reactive, reactive. Well, you can't be proactive until you start reacting to the problems that our city is currently facing today. That's the sewer capacity study throughout the entire city. That's the moratorium in the Southern Peninsula, and that's saying stop to overdevelopment and high density until we can get it correct. That's why I'm rerunning, and I want to ensure that we set up for future generations the town that I enjoyed growing up in and meeting my wife and raising my family. Thank you.
All right, well, I want to thank Alex's family for showing up here today. I'm not sure if there's anyone else here, but if you are here, I just want to remind everyone that you've heard 11 minutes from each of us. So you've heard 11 minutes from each of us, and I think it's important to note that there's a whole lot more to each of us here, especially me. I think there's a technical expertise and an experience level that I have that makes me uniquely qualified for this position. If you want to get more information about me, I'll be here as late as I need to be. My office is here, so if it runs into tomorrow, I'll just start working in the morning. But otherwise, appreciate everyone's time for coming out here. Your willingness to sit here for the hour and then hopefully the next hour with the oral version of this. It's how we get the best feedback is you show up, you be educated, and you help us. So thank you everyone for your time being here tonight.
First of all, I'd just like to say thanks to the GBA for hosting this. This is really great. Thanks to you all for coming out. I mean, this is taking time out of your day, but I think it's showing up and being engaged and seeing how your community's going. So, I mean, you're at the forefront of, an engaged community, which was fantastic. Just like to go back to my really simple platform, which is get the basics right. It's all the topics we talked about here. And maintaining that small town charm over a long period of time, long after we're gone. That's really important for us to be really good stewards during the period that we're able to be stewards for the community and the way into the future. So thanks for coming.
There's some wonderful candidates here. I think all except me. No matter what happens, I'm sure each and every one of the candidates here that does not get elected will do their job to help our community. And the ones that do get elected, they'll do their job and you'll hold them accountable. So it's a great thing. Appreciate GBA being here. They're wonderful. Thank you, TechWorks. I've donated blood right here where you're sitting. This is a great facility here, by the way. If you don't know anything about me, learn more about me. I have I'm a simple man. I have a Facebook page that tells you how old I am. David Chief of Belmont City Council, if you want to look for information. I will be sitting in the back there and sitting through for the mayoral information. If you want to grab a handout for me, that's great. Just pretty much a lot of what you heard today is what I am all about. And just to keep things simple, the most important reason why I want you to vote for me is we're going to the Carolina Speedway. We're going to sit there, and you're going to sit next to me and we're going to eat boiled peanuts, okay? Right? So I'm a very social person, so no matter what happens, you have my open ear, and I want to be your neighbor. All right? Thank you.
All right, thank you. So again, my name is Mark Seelinger. Would appreciate your vote. What you're getting with me is proven leadership experience, which is very important given the scale of the challenges that we are facing. We're going to protect that small town charm. We're going to stop the overdevelopment, and we're going to work to make some headway on this traffic problem that we've got. I think that all of this really boils down to quality of life issues, which is what makes this town so great, is because it's such a wonderful place to live. And I think if we can figure out how to work through these problems, we will be golden. And I know that we can. I've got complete confidence that we can. And with the right leadership in place, we'll get the job done. My website is votesealinger.com. You can also find me on Facebook. Just search for my name in there, pop right up. Also happy to talk with anyone and everyone. If you don't already have my cell phone yet, let me know. I'll give it to you. I'm pretty sure half the city has it by now. So yeah, I look forward to talking with you. Thank you.
All right, thanks to all 6 of the candidates. This will be on the GBA YouTube by Thursday, so if anyone wants to watch it again, and these candidates will stick around a little bit. We're going to take a quick 3-minute break before we move into the mayor's questions. Thanks very much, everyone. Appreciate you. Okay, well, first, let me just say thanks again to TechWorks for opening your doors, hosting this space. Also want to say thank you to David Miller of Rayleigh Miller for sponsoring tonight's conversation and forum, and again to the GBA for putting this together. We have 8 questions for the mayor candidates, and we will get started after the opening statement. It'll be the same process, so 2 minutes for opening statements, and then we'll do 60 seconds per question, and then a 60-second closing remarks.
Can everyone hear me? We're back? All right. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Joe Jordan. I'm running for mayor of Belmont. And to give you a little background about me, I am a Belmont resident all my life. So I was born and raised here. I've seen Belmont go through a lot of changes, a lot of different iterations, have come and gone in Belmont, and I have been lucky enough to be part of that and see this. My parents are here, and their family grew up here, and worked in the mills here, and lived in the mill towns here. So I have some deep roots, and I'm able to lean on those, and I appreciate those greatly. Belmont, to me, is home, and it's very important to me. And so when I sit back and I think, why do I want to do this? I do it because I love Belmont. I do it because I am who I am because of Belmont. I went through school here. I graduated from Gaston Christian, but we were at the Sister of Mercy campus. Then I went to Belmont Avenue because I didn't want to leave Belmont. Believe that. Got my political science degree and went to Campbell for law school. It was a painful 3 years, not so much because it was law school, but because I was away from my beloved Belmont. And I would call my mom every night and talk to her and say, I can't wait to get home. And when I came home, I bought a house with my beautiful wife, Susan, over here. We lived in North Belmont for 12 years, 13 actually. Loved it. Learned so much about people in Belmont from North Belmont. Then after we lived in North Belmont, we were lucky enough to be able to find a parking lot to build our house in there. Listen, we chased people for years to find a home in downtown because we wanted to be in the middle of it. And so nothing came up, so we ended up going. But my businesses are here. I have my law office here. I have my law partner here. We are very integrated in Belmont. My investments are here. My family is here. I'm raising my family here. And I want to ensure that the future generations of Belmont get to enjoy the Belmont that I enjoyed. The fertile ground that I got to come up in. That's what I want to see for Belmont. I don't want to necessarily say no to everything, but we have a beautiful community that has a great identity that I want to keep, but I also want to capture the good and be good stewards for it.
All right. What inspired you to seek the office of mayor, and what leadership principles guide how you serve the city of Belmont?
Okay, so I've asked myself this question a lot, mainly in the mirror at night. What made me want to do it is because Belmont's worth it. Belmont's worth doing hard things, in my opinion. And I want to see that continue. The good things in life that you chase are not easy to get, and I know that. And I've seen it in my own personal life, but I also know that about Belmont, about government, small town government. So that's why I wanted it, because I want to give back to my community that helped make me who I am. I want to give back to that community. What will guide me, I hope, are my life lessons, my faith, my family, the ability that I have been able to achieve through training as an attorney. I hope I can bring that into the city so that we can look and we can say, how are we going to solve the issues? I don't look at the problems, I look at the challenges that the city faces, and bring some of that as a small business owner, as a family person, as an attorney
you help set the tone for collaboration and public engagement. How will you ensure the city council operates transparently and inclusively?
Good question. So yes, I see the mayor as being kind of the visionary, for lack of better terms. Some of you may not know, the mayor does not have a vote. The mayor doesn't tolerate votes. But the mayor really, in my opinion, my hope is that the mayor seat is the one that sets the vision, sets the course for the town. My hope is that city council will adopt that vision and that they will be able to run with it if we can give it the right direction. And that's my hope. Now, how can we act more transparently? How can we get people involved? Engagement. In my opinion, engagement is what brings transparency. Engagement in your city government, in your personal governance, is what gives you transparency in what's happening. Because if you're there, if you're at the meetings, if you're talking to your leadership, if you see them in a restaurant and you talk to them about what you like or don't like, if you go to public comment, sign up, stick your neck out a little bit to be able to be part of your government, then you will find transparency. Now, I'm sure there's some things that aren't really on the top, but for the most part, if you're there poking it constantly, you're going to find out, you're going to learn a lot about the way your city government works.
Belmont is growing more diverse each year. How would you support efforts and events that reflect and celebrate the city's diversity while strengthening a sense of community and belonging?
So, what comes to mind is our city monitor, right? How many threads? One. Right? So we are a diverse community. And I think we do a great job throwing events in downtown, right? I mean, we have some great events that happen. We bring a lot of people into town. But bringing in new or giving a ear to new voices is something that we will be doing more in the future. And that's because more people are coming to Belmont. More people are coming in and calling Belmont home. And as that happens, more diverse ideas come in. I'm a firm believer that diverse ideas give us the best result. Those competing interests that we are able to push against each other, that's where we find ourselves in the middle. That's where we find our best solutions. And that goes for events. That goes for the changes that we want to see in our own town. So I would be a fan of hearing from more people about what type of events that we want to see. Hoping that our community reaches out and says, yes, we like these events. No, we don't like these events. These are the direction we want to see our events in.
As you already stated, the mayor only votes in the event of a tie. How would you handle disagreements or differing priorities among council members while maintaining a spirit of cooperation?
Who wrote this question? So listen, here's the way I see it, and I've told council members this before, and I know the council members personally. I know them from going to meetings and seeking them out and talking to them and being involved with them. But it always, I think, as the negotiator in me gets aggravated when I see everything as unanimous. It makes me think, okay, where was the tug? Where was the back and forth? Where was that pull? So I see the value in that. I think going back to what I said when I opened, the hard decisions are usually the best decisions. Those are the best fall solutions that we come up with. So having disagreements with council members, I fully expect that I will. And that's because there have been a couple decisions here recently that I didn't necessarily agree with. Maybe I agree with this one, but didn't agree with this one. And I like to talk to them afterwards to figure out where they were on it. And I can tell you this, my knee-jerk reaction on some of the decisions I didn't agree with, after I was able to talk to them and engage them as a resident of Belmont, I better understood why those decisions were made. And it helped me wrap my mind around it and not so much sit back and think, man, they got that wrong. It helped me understand why and the basis behind it.
What criteria would you use to determine which issues appear on the public meeting agenda versus the consent agenda?
That's a good question. So I had a friend of mine tell me that whenever there's a public hearing or a public meeting for some changes or whatever may be changing, a good idea is to go to that meeting and see how many people show up. Because if a lot of people show up, you know that probably is a hot topic. That's probably something that people have some investment into personally. If you go to the meeting and no one's there except the developer or whoever's looking to change something, well, then you know it's probably not that big of an idea. My knee-jerk reaction on that would be if there are people that are voicing their opinion on the matter, if there are people that are coming to the public meetings and making themselves known, in my mind, that brings it up, right? That makes it more important. It's floating to the top. Because what I can tell you is, sticking your neck out and coming out and saying, I agree with you or I disagree with you, a lot of people don't want to do that because they don't like conflict. I understand that. But what I can also tell you is that metal that we need in our residents. If you want to see something different, if you want to see a change, if you don't like the way decisions are being made, showing that they're doing those things are going to help us decide, in the event I'm lucky enough to do it, that this holds more weight and it should be discussed differently.
Belmont's infrastructure, including water, sewer, and transportation, continue to be a major concern. What is your plan to advocate for state and regional support to address these needs?
I love spending other people's money. I don't like spending your money. I want to be a good steward of your money. I'm a taxpayer as well, so I know the feeling. So, real quick story, because I don't have a lot of time here. About a year ago, when I decided I wanted to do this, I started reaching out to our representatives, Tommy Elkins, John Corbett, Brad Overcouch. I went to Tim Moore. I went and met with them not because I wanted to know them as a person, or I think they're cool people to hang out with. I did that because I wanted to be able to have a voice with them for Belmont. I wanted to set myself up for success in the event I'm lucky enough to do this, that I can go to them and I can say, remember when we talked about this? Remember the relationship that we have put in place? So I have been intentionally direct about making relationships with them. Some people like that, some people don't. But what I can tell you is I don't want to spend your money. I want to spend grant money. I want to spend county money. I want to spend state money. I want to spend federal money. All of those things that are going to other municipalities around us, but we're not getting necessarily. I want to be the one that waves your hand and says, Belmont, please finish your money here.
How would you approach balancing residential development with commercial and recreational spaces to ensure long-term economic and environmental sustainability?
So I'll say what everyone up here said earlier, that residential is overbuilt, and we know that. So what are we looking at? We're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit, and no shade to council, but that's where we're at. And so we have to look at the facts in front of us and the landscape in front of us. And so what I would say is we need to rebalance it of our development. What do I mean by that? In my opinion, with the overbuilding of residential, we have gotten behind the 8 ball on infrastructure, and that includes a lot of things. That's sewer, that's water, that's streets, that's public safety, that's school systems, that's retail, that's commercial, that's services, the people that live here. We're behind on all of those things. What I would like to see is more investment in businesses coming in to raise the tax base so that we can have more funds to address the infrastructure problems we have. Building roads is insanely expensive. Putting new pipes in the ground is insanely expensive. Doing all these things is really expensive, but it can be done. That's a roundabout way to answer the question. If you want me to revisit the answer.
Looking ahead 4 years, what is your vision for Belmont's future? And what key initiatives would you want to be known for as mayor?
Belmont's future, I want it to continue to have this amazing identity that it has now, but to be able to capture some of the good growth that is out there. And it is possible. We are in demand, guys. Belmont is in demand. People want to be here. They want to invest here. They want to build here. We can capture some of that. Like some of the council candidates said earlier, there are developers that will get involved. And I mean from a checkbook standpoint. They will come in and they will invest in the infrastructure that needs to be fit to do a certain development they want to do. And this isn't necessarily residential, this is commercial retail as well. We have to be able to play those different avenues because there is no perfect silver bullet that's going to fix this for us. We need a lot of different creative thoughts and problem solving to be able to address the problems we have. Now, what do I want to be known for? I would prefer to be known as the guy that came in, got the thing on a plan, and then left. Because really what I can see is us putting a plan in place and saying, over the next 4 years, this is where we want to go, this is where we want to be. That shared vision, it doesn't matter to me who's sitting on council at that point, because if we have a shared vision, they're going to get behind the movement we need to get there. And that's really what I would like to see, is the rallying around a shared growth plan.
I know this has been rapid fire for you.
Like lightning round.
We are already done with our 8 questions, so you've got 60 seconds.
If you had asked me 4 years ago, when I was enjoying everything Belmont has to offer, enjoying raising my family, if you had asked me, where do you see yourself? What are you doing? Is this where you see yourself? I was living in a volunteer board world and I loved it. And there are so many faces I know in the room right now that are on volunteer boards in Belmont. People ask me about transparency. They ask me about how the city works. They ask me about these things. You know what I tell them? Get involved on a volunteer board. The best people in Belmont are on our volunteer boards. The best ideas that come out of Belmont come out of our volunteer boards. They are amazing. My problem, or what I saw as a deficiency, was the connection between the volunteer boards and our city government. There was like this chasm that couldn't be crossed. And that's not, I don't say that because I want to say this person did this or that. What I'm telling you is, city council is busy. There's a lot. Look at the agenda. These things are like, the agenda is 2-3 pages, but they're packaged on 40 pages, okay? This is what they're going through to get ready for me. 2 meetings a month, by the way. So to say that there's all this time to get volunteer boards is tough, and I understand that, I know that. And initially, I was aggravated when I was on volunteer boards. Because I felt like there wasn't the weight given to the volunteers that ideas came from. But what I understood in learning is that sometimes that's hard and it's difficult, and sometimes there's not enough time in the day. But what I can tell you is those ideas do trickle through. Okay, they do come through conversation. When you see your city councilman at dinner or out walking the streets, wherever it is, talk to them about what you love. Talk to them about your passion in town. Talk to them about the things you want them to know. Because I can tell you, they never really stop working in their heads. They don't. It's always that way. They're always there. So keep that line of communication open. That is what makes Belmont great. The people that are here, the people that invest in it, the people that love it, the people that want to see it continue being great, the people that want to say to Gastonia and to Charlotte, we like our identity. We think it's pretty neat, and we like to keep it that way. But that doesn't mean that good things don't come out of Charlotte, or good things don't come out of Gastonia, because they do. Great ideas do happen outside of our home. Right? So we want to look outside. We want to see what people are doing well and what they're not doing so great. Because we want to learn from those things. And we want to do it in a way that's fiscally responsible. We want to do it in a way that actually happens within the next 4 years or whatever it may be. We want to see these things happen. I selfishly want to see these things happen because my children are here. I want my children to stay in Belmont. I don't want to drive far away, Jack and Abby. If you leave me, I'm going to chase you. I want you to come back to Belmont. They love Belmont. They have seen the good side of it. There's so much good here. So with that said, I am humbled to be here in front of you tonight. And it is amazing to think that this is where I'm sitting. But with all of that said, thank you very much for your time tonight. You can find me at jordan4mayor.com. F-O-R, instead of not before, F-O-R. I'm pretty easy to find on the social media things that are out there. I'm not great out, but there's stuff out there, and it's pretty easy to find if you need me. So please feel free to reach out. I'll chase rabbits with you as long as I can.
With that, the program concludes. Thank you, everyone.